If the Champions League isn't won this season with Porto, then all of this has been a failure. League titles and a couple Alliance Cups are nice. Let's please ignore the Taça de Portugal.
I prefer really not to speak.
Although, even that was won in the most dramatic fashions once. However, in order for Chroo to live up to his idol Jose, he needs to win it. Mourinho was only a manager in Portugal for less than 4 years. Chroo has almost been at Porto for the same amount of time. So if it's not happening now, when will it? The team hasn't changed much, as Šeško was forced to stay despite the club receiving an offer valued over 90 million. There were also deals presented for Beto, Gabriel, Wan-Bissaka, and others. But we were able to keep them, and most stayed happy. Even Šeško. Still wouldn't sign a new contract though. Players that did leave were Alvaro Morata and Sergio Oliveira on free transfers. Phil Costas set his sights for Spal after becoming third choice, and 7.5 million was received for this new gen. On the ends,
Chroo
came in as a rotation option for central midfield. World-renowned chess player Magnus Carlsen arrived from Brøndby, and Marco Bulat followed for 40 million. The winger formation was thrown in the trash, and 3 narrow variations were used. In most matches, this attacking tactic was the choice, which meant guys like Conceição, Jota, and Wu Young had to play more centrally, either as a shadow striker or playing in the front too. Against teams similar to our level, we initially had this 3 central midfield version, but it proved to be the weakest of the tactics. Versus the sides we may struggle against, one of the guys dropped in as a defensive mid. That got to be tested first against PSG. How are they in pot 2?
Yeah, that's how it is.
With Club Brugge and Olympiacos being the whipping boys, the 2 matches against the Parisians would determine who got the easier opponent. Starting on cautious to slow down Haaland and Sancho, Jude Bellingham scored since nobody can actually defend once a set piece is cleared. Luckily, we won a penalty to find ourselves back in the game. This is your opportunity, man. A nice thing for us is Pochettino started some interesting players in the back line, which saw them getting XG'd in the first half. They even allowed Šeško to make up for the miss. Man scored 10 goals in the first 3 games, but can't score these. But there's still a lot of football to play. Beto, come on, man. Let's go. That's a real striker. That's a real striker there. Chances piled up in the second half, but sadly, none of them went in, which was such a disappointment with the context of everything and the shots missed. On the 5th match day, we faced them once again with wins on either side determining who finishes top. They scored immediately. Hakimi of all people, but Šeško dropped for Wu, and Korea nearly equalized right after. In the second half, I had to switch to a more attacking formation, which meant bringing on Conceição and Benjamin Šeško. Bulat's got on the ball. Šeško, come on, Šeško. Boom! Oh, what a ball. Yamin. Hakare. No. Yamin, come on. Let's go! Benjamin Šeško off the bench. First place in the group theoretically gets us an easier opponent. Piss off. As expected, the start of the Portuguese section was simple. Supertaça Candido de Oliveira, that trophy's ours. The league matches were quite easy too. Points would be dropped, such as draws with Tondela and Forense during the first 11 matches. Regardless, the Alliance Cup seemed simple too, with a win in the first group stage match, while the Taça de Portugal... We need to talk about Sergio Conceição. I've talked so much about his curse, it's starting to drive me insane. However, things weren't going well for him either. His job post-Porto was A-Bar, which didn't bring much fulfillment in his life since he got sacked. He then decided to return to Portugal to become Benfica's manager. Benfica's B manager, which saw him get sacked months later. While this was happening, we won our 3rd round matchup in the Voodoo Cup, with Conceição jobless and me trying every single thing to eradicate this curse. What better thing to do than bring in the man who started this? Sorry, Ricardo Carvalho, we're terminating your contract because our new assistant manager is Mr. Conceição. In his Taça de Portugal return, Porto smashed Paços de Ferreira 5-0, making it seem like we could overcome this nonsense. Unfortunately, that happened right after losing to Braga, which brought us to the winter slump. A loss to Alverca and a draw to Lusitania Lourosa in the league, and Sporting in the Alliance Cup. Thankfully, we didn't lose to Sapinto, who was sacked a while back. Following that, however, was a win versus UD Olorense in the league, and somehow drawing Benfica 0-0 at home despite whipping their Thankfully, Benfica were already eliminated in the Taça de Portugal, so we wouldn't be facing them in the 5th round, but we would face off with Sporting.
Not again.
Previous match against them is where I stopped using this version of my formation. So away from home, we utilized the defensive variant. Chances were created, but still, no goals 30 minutes in. I should preface that there was no goals for us, because they scored off a corner kick. The chances we were creating just got squandered. All things considered, we were the better team, and in the 90th minute, my screen glitched. Oh, how did you miss that? It was time to sack this fraud. but the board refused. Training the next day was a little awkward. Another kick to the nuts was the start of January. After 19 match days, Braga managed to jump above us on head-to-head. They basically kicked Sporting from the big three, but their time in the sun didn't last long as they would soon drop points, and we would get comfortable wins until the Champions League. That included revenge on Sporting, and against Boavista, Mr. Red Card himself Painha was sent packing in the 33rd minute. Another 2-week fine. So, Real Madrid in the round of 16 again. They have a great squad, albeit with a few question marks. Milinkovic is good, but is he Real Madrid good? Plus, I've never heard of this Isaacson guy in my life. It also had to be Lewandowski's swan song with him at age 38 still busting La Liga's nets. We of course used a defensive variation of our formation, and things were calm until the 35th minute when Šeško got injured.
Oh my god!
It was time for Wu Young, who has been doing well at striker in the appearances he's had. Although he did miss what felt like over a month due to the Asian Cup, in which South Korea's side got smashed by Australia. 0-0 at the half despite a couple chances, but then came the kickoff. 46th minute, Kakra finds Borna Sosa in behind to Young, the substitute. Let's go! Wu Young Chung gets the goal right away, 1-0. Rafael Guerrero came on just prior to the 70th minute, and his impact was immediate. So Guerrero finds Young. Guerrero! Oh, goal! No, it's his goal. Let's go. Assist by Young. Let's go. 2 defensive mistakes by Real Madrid was costing them. So Painha decided to even it out by fouling someone off a corner and getting another red. With Lewandowski stepping up for the pen, Robert Lewandowski stepping up to get one back for Real Madrid. He stopped! The fun! The boss! A 2-0 victory at the Bernabeu. In the second leg, despite no Šeško and Painha, things were chill, even with Lewandowski hitting the bar in the first half. Unfortunately, he eventually had to score 1, which happened with 20 to go, but we were able to hold on and move to the quarterfinals. All things considered, we got a fairly even matchup as Borussia Dortmund were drawn. Third in the Bundesliga by some margin and managed by a Spaniard who, I will be honest, I have no idea who he is. With that into consideration, this seemed like it was the run. It would either be Barcelona or Juventus in the semi-final if we won, which compared to past seasons is a lot more favorable. However, Dortmund were going to be tough with a solid midfield including Gio Reyna, an incredible new-gen right-back, and a man on the FM22 Mount Rushmore, Moukoko, who in our save is out of this world. He scored first, and Borussia Dortmund were giving us a German football lesson. Don't worry though, we were able to witness the greatest goal in Champions League history. Ula. Great ball to Conceição, what a save by Kobel though.
What a head, son! What a head!
In the second half, I was using our attacking formation due to our performance, and it seemed like we were clawing our way back until Abdul Kabir scored an absolute banger because for some reason in FM, marking the corner kick taker after the ball has been headed away rarely ever happens. It's all good though. We were at home in leg 2, and all that was needed was 1 goal. A chance came, then another, then another. Based on the stats, we are dominating by the half, although Dortmund came close too. With worries about Painha being on a yellow, he was subbed off. Confidence was still high though, and the performance showed it, especially Magnus Carlsen, who started because I wasn't feeling it with Beto. It's all good though, we got it back. Bulat to Carlsen. Oh my gosh. So many highlights were coming for us, but Dortmund were preventing anything clear-cut until Šeško got in behind in the 72nd minute, where he for some reason passed it to Magnus in the worst position. Last 10 minutes, over 30 shots, 3 expected goals, yet nothing. I kept saying to myself that a goal had to be coming, and the ball finally found the back of the net. Borna Sosa was offside in the build-up, and Youssef Moukoko would score in the 90th minute. 35 shots, 14 on target with 3.36 expected goals. In what world do we not at least get 1? Oh, cheers for that goal with no time left. Chroo has failed. If he can't win the Champions League now, he's never going to win it. Maybe it's unrealistic expectations which had not been helped by making a final in the first season, but if a semi-final can't be reached in 3 straight attempts, when will it ever happen? In a distraught state, Chroo realized he was never going to be as good as his idol. His resignation was given, leaving Porto and never to be heard of again. At the end of the day, the more things changed, the more they stayed the same. And for Sergio Conceição, he reaped the benefits of that.